Hi, today is August 23rd, 2022. Today we are going to be discussing Christopher Hauser and his 1099-A method. This is a method that has been making its way around YouTube and various social media platforms. Predominantly TikTok is where a lot of people are beginning to discover this particular method. We're going to be talking about Christopher Hauser, the method itself, whether or not it's a legitimate method, whether or not people have seen success with this method, and whether or not there are any potential ramifications of utilizing these IRS forms in an attempt to gain free property. So first of all, for those of you who do not know, Christopher Hauser is a sovereign, and he is on YouTube. He has a YouTube channel as well as a Telegram group where he teaches people how to use a 1099-A to acquire free property. The property could be a house, it could be a car. I've seen people asking whether or not they can discharge debts like credit cards and phone bills and daycare. And I even saw one lady say that she had her daughter and her daughter's friend living in her house for 10 years rent-free, and she wanted to know whether or not she could get a 1099-A and be paid that way. So there are a lot of people that believe that they are able to use a 1099-A in order to gain something for nothing. So let's go over it real quick. So about Christopher Hauser. Christopher Hauser, again, he has a YouTube channel, he has a Telegram, and his main idea is that because there is no money in the system, and because of several different obscure, weird, mystic ideas that have been cobbled together, people are they are entitled to a trust that the government allegedly set up at their birth using their birth certificate. This particular argument stems from the sovereign citizen movement, and we're going to get to that term, sovereign citizen, in a little bit. In addition to there being an alleged trust, it is believed that because of House Joint Resolution 192 and Public Law 7310, that there is no money in circulation because they took all of the gold and silver out of circulation. And because they did that, the government is liable and responsible for all public debts. Now, what Christopher Hauser is teaching people to do is use the IRS Form 1099-A, which is acquisition or abandonment of secured property, in order to obtain free property from the government. What they're doing is using what they call a trustee to file the documents, so that way I've seen people refer to it as being at arm's length, away from the alleged trouble, whatever could possibly come from it. They want to make sure that they can insulate themselves from that by using a trustee. People have, in the past, filed these documents themselves, whether it's a 1099-A or 1099 OID, whatever document it may be, they generally file them themselves, and people have been getting arrested for several years based on attempting to gain things from the government using these IRS documents. So we're going to go into that a little bit and explore what it means to use a 1099-A. Well, first, before we even get into that, let's go into the trust. The trust that these people are claiming exists, they say it's really convoluted, and I don't know all of these specifics in terms of how they feel this trust exists, because as far as I'm concerned, it's a conspiracy theory at this point. The reason why I say it's a conspiracy theory is because the Treasury Department, where they claim this trust is held, has come out and said that no such trust exists. The FBI and the Department of Justice, when they have gone ahead and charged people and convicted people of falsely and fraudulently filing these IRS forms, they have stated that the trust does not exist. The courts for the past 40 years have been very, very specific about their rejection of this argument. They've rejected this argument up and down. So when you see people like Christopher Hauser coming onto YouTube or Telegram, and he's got a 1099A there, and he's telling you stuff about this trust and how you can tap into it and be able to gain from it, just know that over the past 40 years, you can go online, you can go on Google, type in vapor money court cases, and just see the different court cases that pop up. And then go inside those court cases, and whether you're using a 1099A, whether you're using a 1099 OID, a 1040V, a 1096, no matter what document you're using, don't get caught up on which document is being used. Read the court case and see exactly what those people did or what their thought process was. And once you look at all these court cases, you will soon realize that they all revolve around the same premise. They believe that there is a trust and that this trust can be accessed via IRS documents or whatever method of being able to access the trust that they come up with next. This is what they're doing in order to allegedly access this trust. Now, let's go back to the courts for a second. The courts say that there is no trust. The IRS, FBI, Department of Justice, Treasury Department, they all say there is no trust. People have been going to jail for attempting to access this trust. When you read the court cases, the courts have rejected this argument forever. Okay? So that's the trust. We're getting that out of the way because we have no proof of that trust. No matter what they say, no matter what documents they show you, no matter what memes they pull up, no matter any of that shit, none of it has been proven at all. So that's the trust out of the way. Now on to the 1099A. The 1099A is an IRS form for acquisition and abandonment, an abandonment of secure property. So let's dig into that a bit further. This form, like all other IRS forms, is a reporting form. It's a tax document. You do not file a 1099A in order to obtain anything. The 1099A is a reporting form. You would have to already have had the property in order to use a 1099A. Why? Because it's an acquisition and abandonment document. That's what the form is for. The form is to report it. It's not to go out and acquire property. It's not to go out and abandon property. You have to already have the property and then file the form in order to report to the IRS income. That's what the form is for. It makes no mention anywhere on the form. It makes no mention anywhere on the IRS website under specific instructions for 1099A. It says absolutely nothing about that form being able to acquire property, being able to abandon property, being able to be used as a check. I've seen people say, oh, it's a check. You just write your name on it and you put your social, you put all the other information, and then you can turn this in like a check and it works just like a check. It says nothing about being a check. It says nothing about its ability to be used like a check. It says nothing about it being able to be used in lieu of a check or any other form of payment or tender or any other verbs they want to use. It makes absolutely no mention of that. So when you see people online saying that you can use a 1099-A to acquire a house, those people are full of fucking shit. They're borderline delusional, borderline retarded. And what I've noticed from a lot of these people is that they are intentionally and blatantly misconstruing the instructions to fit their narrative. Why do I say this? I say this because for normal adults, people that have been getting up and going to work every single day and paying their bills and paying their taxes and enjoying time with their family and everything, none of us have ever heard that you can take a 1099-A and use it to acquire property. If that was the case, some hotshot lawyer, somebody who deals with this type of stuff on a daily basis, realtors, I mean, there are millions of real estate transactions that go down every single year. You mean to tell me that Christopher Hauser has the sauce? He's the one that you all are going to in order to gain this knowledge? Out of all these well-qualified people who deal in this stuff on a daily basis, you've never heard anybody else saying that they can use a 1099-A to acquire anything. However, this random dude gets on YouTube, and all of a sudden, the government owes everybody something. So now that we've gotten that part out of the way, with the 1099 not being able to acquire anything, let's kind of put it all together. So the first thing is, there is no trust. The idea is that the 1099-A is supposed to unlock the trust, it's supposed to draw from the trust, it's supposed to be used in conjunction with the trust. Now, if there is no trust, then what the fuck are they drawing on? And if there is no trust, how can someone be a trustee or a beneficiary of a trust that doesn't exist? Because that's what the government said. They said that it doesn't exist. Now, I know what some people are thinking. We can't trust the government. The government lies. The government's not, they're not in a position to have their word trusted. Well, if you don't trust the government, why are you attempting to use their forms in order to milk them? I mean, you would have to have an idea somewhere. If no one else is doing this, you would have to have an idea, a reason. There has to be something substantial within your mind frame that tells you that you can do this. So if you don't trust them, then how can you read their instructions on their form and come to the conclusion that that form is there to serve your purpose when the form makes no mention of anything you're talking about? These people are crazy. These people are sovereign citizens. That's what they are. Now I'm going to break down the word sovereign citizen, or that term, because people don't like that term. When you bring that term up, or when you show them a court case that disproves what they're saying, one of the first things that they tend to run to is they say, we're not sovereign citizens, therefore the court cases that you brought up, therefore the FBI pamphlets and literature and training manuals and warnings and other items that you brought to our attention do not apply to us. Because we are free people, whatever term they want to use, we're not sovereign citizens. We know who we are and all this other mystic shit that they talk about. Now, let's get to sovereign citizen. Sovereign citizen is a misnomer. Why? Because you cannot be sovereign and a citizen at the same time. Those are two different things, so they don't go together. That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. I don't have an issue with that. Here's where people who make that argument fuck up. It does not matter if you call yourself a sovereign citizen. That is highly irrelevant. What matters is what the government calls people who they deem to be sovereign citizens, what they associate that behavior with. The government associates sovereign citizens, or people who are in the redemption movement. They refer to these people, or they look at their activity as being lumped in with sovereign citizen activity. What activity am I talking about? I'm talking about people who go into court, people who write letters and send it to their phone provider or to their bank or to whoever they've taken out loans from or borrowed money from or acquired property from. People who go to them and say, I don't owe any money because of the vapor money theory, because of House Joint Resolution 192 and Public Law 7310. I don't owe anything because nothing was loaned to me. There's a trust, and I'm attempting to use my trust to acquire property. These are the types of arguments that the government associates with sovereign citizens. So just know that when you get online, when you file a court document, when you file some type of anything, or you send anything to a company and you start talking about trust accounts and birth certificates and how there is no money and how the government is liable and responsible for your debts, when you start talking about all that shit, they see you as a sovereign citizen, regardless of what you call yourself. Why is this important? This is important because despite what you may think about the government not being truthful, not being trustworthy, not being people whose word you can take into consideration, the government has the power to lock your goofy ass up. I don't know any other way to explain that. And you would think that a rational person would take that information, have that knowledge from a youngster. Because you can go to any youngster and they'll be able to tell you, hey man, the government can lock you up. The police can put you in jail. There are plenty of men and women in jail right now who don't have any freedom. So it should be common knowledge that the government is the one with the power here. They think they're the ones with the power. They think that they can come out here and they can file whatever they want in court. They can go to these companies and they can tell these companies which part of their ass to kiss, and they can tell them that there is no money, they lent them no money, the vapor money theory, and all this type of stuff, and this is supposed to fly in court. That's not how it works. Over the past 40 years, people have gone to court. They've argued this time and time again. They've gone in there and told the judge that there is no money and all this stuff. They provided all the various laws and acts and statutes and you name it. They've gone in there and provided all of that. How do I know they've done that? I know because I don't listen to people like Christopher Hauser. I go online, I do the research, I type in the fucking court cases and I look them up. If you want to do the same, you can go on Google right now, type in vapor money theory, and then put court case after it. Type in sovereign citizen and then put court case after it. So, whatever terms they are using in these groups, go on Google and type that shit in, and then afterwards put court case. And see what pops up. Just see what cases pop up. And then read the cases. Don't get caught up on what form they were using. If you get caught up on that, you're going to miss the entire picture. Because you're going to be so focused on, oh, well, he's using a 1099 OID. I'm using a 1099A. I'm good. That's hogwash. That's bullshit. If you focus on that, you're going to be missing the part where this idiot went into court and made the exact same argument you are being taught to make. If it didn't work for him, why the fuck would it work for you? Furthermore, if it has worked for anybody, where are these people? You go into Christopher Hauser's Telegram group, there are 10,000 members in that group. How many testimonials? 1 year, 10,000 members later, not one fucking testimonial. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Oh no, that's not true. I've gone into the group and there have been plenty of people saying that they've gotten cars and houses. This works fine. I trust those people. Well, let me let you in on a little secret. The last two people that went into Christopher Hauser's Telegram group claiming to have gotten cars for free, they duped the hell out of the group. They told them that it was true. They posted up screenshots of emails with the car in the email stating that they managed to get the car. And, they had an email from the dealer, hey, your car is here for pickup, and, we just got your 1099A approved and all that. Those were fake. Those were fake. We already debunked that. Why? Because we see the Photoshop. There are errors in the email. So how could those be real? Those were fake. The ones prior to that, every other testimonial prior to that, you want to know what ended up happening? Somebody who was intelligent came along and they asked for proof that those items were paid for with a 1099A. And do you want to know what happened in 100% of those cases? After the question was asked about how the items were paid for, those people never responded. Go back through the group and search for everybody who's claimed to have gotten a car or a house doing this. They'll show a picture of the vehicle or whatever. Then when you start pressing them and asking them about how it was acquired, they never ever come back. What does this tell me? This tells me that there is no proof. People will say, oh, well, they managed to get it and now they don't want it to stop working. Well, that's highly fucking convenient. That's highly convenient. We have one or two people that have managed to get it, and now all of a sudden, they don't want to help anybody else supposedly free themselves from the clutches of the government. And then here's another thing, too. Here's another thing that bothers me, and it really actually offended me more than anything else. These people are using terms like slavery and bondage. They are under the impression that they are slaves to the system. And I find that quite offensive. The reason I find that offensive is because these same motherfuckers get up every single day, they get out of their goofy ass bed, they walk around, they go to the grocery store, they touch fruit, they go out to the park, they go wherever it is they go, they watch whatever channel on TV they feel like watching, they hop on the internet and start running their stupid Twitter fingers. These people are not enslaved. The only part of them that is enslaved is their stupid fucking mind. Otherwise, they are free as a bird. When they get ready, they can get up, they can leave the country, they can go somewhere else, they can go camping if they want to. You cannot do any of that fucking shit in jail. Those are the real slaves. Those people don't get to choose when they eat. They don't get to choose what time it's lights out. They don't get to choose if they're going to go exercise, at what time they're going to go exercise. They don't get to choose if they want to go to the grocery store or the movies or the mall or to hang out someplace or to go have a job. They don't have any freedom. Everything that they do is restricted and is based on what someone else has given, on the instructions of someone else. It's not based on their own accord. So when you, as a free person who is out here with the rest of society, decide to use the term enslaved, you're a fucking clown. You're a clown who doesn't respect anything. You're a clown who takes things completely out of context and uses them to fit your twisted ass narratives. You're not a slave. Your brain is enslaved. So, throughout all of this, basically what I'm trying to say to people is, take all of this with a grain of salt. Take all of it with a grain of salt. If you've got a family out there, if you've got children, if you have a mother and father or grandparent or somebody that you physically have to be responsible for and take care of, think about your family. Think about the possible ramifications of you doing these things without any proof that they actually work. Because if they worked, there would be some type of proof. There would be a paper trail somewhere, something that somebody could look at. A rational person could look at it and be able to say, that's legitimate. But when you have court case after court case going back 40 years, and people have been trying to argue the same bullshit for 40 fucking years, I mean, read the court cases. Don't take my word for it. Read the goddamn cases. If you read the case, you will see every single one of these cases is all reliant upon the same arguments. There's a trust account. My birth certificate created that trust account. The government holds that trust account. There is no money. They took gold out of circulation. Blah, 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 blah. Every single one of these court cases is a variation of the same arguments, and they've all been rejected. The FBI has documents on the internet. You type in sovereign citizen FBI and look through their literature. Alright, let me tell you this. If you have no idea about sovereign citizens, or about this redemption movement, or about any of this, if you had no idea, you could literally go to the government's information and it would tell you everything you ever wanted to know about it. So when you see people in these Telegram groups asking questions and they don't know certain things, and you see a lot of the things that people respond to them with, just know that a lot of these people in these groups have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. One person says you don't have to change your status, another person says that you do have to change your status, and then there's a third person out there who says there's no such thing as a status change at all. Everybody's got some sort of different understanding of what it means to do all of these processes. And the funny thing is that they don't realize the government understands these things better than they do. It's all right there in their literature. They have documents where they have gone into very, very fine detail about what exactly is going on here. So they understand very well what you guys are doing. Just because they don't choose to acknowledge it or recognize it as being something that is legitimate doesn't mean that they don't understand, because they've clearly written about it. So folks, again, if it sounds too good to be true, and someone is giving you, an idea. They're giving you an impression that you can go out here and file these things and obtain free property, and they're not showing you any proof. All they can do is post memes. They can post pictures from God knows where these pictures come from. They post all types of different obscure laws and acts and statutes and all types of other things. Just know that the courts don't take that shit seriously. Regardless of where it comes from, regardless of how it's packaged, the courts understand these arguments better than you think that they do. And the question that I keep posing to people in these groups is, okay, you filed a 1099-A, or your trustee has filed a 1099-A. The company or the bank or whoever you're dealing with refuses to accept it. The car dealership, whoever, they refuse to accept it. Now you send them a conditional acceptance, because according to Chris Hauser, that's the next thing you have to do. Send them a conditional acceptance. So you send that to them. After you do that, and you follow all the steps, what's the very next thing for you to do? This company is not playing ball. The dealership doesn't want to sell you the car. The phone company doesn't want to credit your account. What is your next step? Well, you have two options. You either give the fuck up, or you take them to court. If you take them to court, what are you going to argue when you get to court? Because your argument is coming from Chris Hauser. And you want to know something else? He got his argument from the people from 20, 30, 40 fucking years ago. These arguments are not new. What's new is the process. What's new is the way that they do things. Because every few years, when this wave pops back up, it changes a little bit. A few years ago, the 1099 OID was the big form. That's what everybody was using. Now, everyone's using the 1099A. Why? Because when people were using the 1099 OID a few years ago, they were getting popped left and right. And they were going to jail doing football numbers. So now they don't use the 1099 OID anymore. Now they use the 1099A. And because some smart, dumb idiot over there saw the word acquisition on it, they said, you know what? This is our new form. This is how we're going to get, quote, remedy. You know, when I see people using these words like remedy and all these type of things, they just come off as mystics. It just seems like the most mystic shit in the world, because none of them have any proof, and they're all parroting something that they heard from somebody else. And not one of these people has any fucking proof. Not only do they not have proof, but when you press them hard enough to back up their claims, they run. They hide. They start name calling. They start deflecting with shit that you're not even talking about. They start coming up with all these wild-ass accusations about how you're a government agent there to try and stop them from having fun and trying to learn and trying to gain a remedy from the government. Let me tell you something about the government that you may not know. Because, you know, I've come to realize that a lot of you are, you know, there are some psych wards across the United States that are missing some patients. So let me clue you in on a little secret. You know, since there are secret trust accounts out here, let me clue you in on a secret that you may not have been exposed to already. The government will not stop you from committing a crime. That's not their job. The government's job is to write the rules, sit back, and wait for dummies to break the law. They don't go into Telegram groups and send their agents in there to stop people from committing what they feel is a crime. Why? Because it makes more sense to the government to allow you to commit the crime and then bust you afterwards. not to stop you before you do it. If they stop you before you do it, how are they going to get any money out of you? If you don't go to jail, if you don't end up with some sort of fine from the IRS, if you're not under some sort of penalty, they're not making any money off of you. So they're not here to stop you from doing this. So when you see somebody coming on and they're asking questions, they're trying to come to a determination as far as whether or not this is real or not, whether or not this is factual, whether or not this actually works, don't assume that this person is an agent. When somebody posts a court case or FBI documents or any other information that pertains to this that is in opposition of what you're talking about, don't assume that person is an agent, because that is a retarded claim. That claim tells me that you don't think. That claim tells me that you are so worked up and so in your feelings and spending so much time trying to read between lines that aren't there that you can't even see what's right in front of your face. That is not how the government operates. For instance, a guy goes out there and he's trying to sell drugs. Do you think that the government sends out people who are undercover to go to that guy and tell him not to sell drugs? No, they don't. What do? They buy drugs from him once, twice, 4 or 5 times, then they bust his ass. They don't tell him that it's wrong to sell drugs. Hey, buddy, don't do that. They bust him after he's committed the crime. So for you clowns out there who are claiming that everybody's an agent, think about what it is that you're saying, because you're not making any sense. And for those of you out here who continue, especially the minorities, because I think that the minorities are possibly the most delusional people out of everybody in these groups. For you blacks and Latinos that are in these groups, you guys are probably the dumbest people out of everybody in these groups. Why do I say this? I say this because you don't even know the history of the movement that you're joining. You're aligning yourself and attaching yourself to far right-wing ideologies. That's how this movement started. This movement is a far right-wing movement. The reason why your black or Latino ass is in this group is because it's a sign of the times. We live in a day and age where the internet and social media are so prolific that they are a part of our lifestyle. They're part of everyday life. You can't get away from them. So when somebody comes on TikTok and they make a TikTok video and they're telling you all this stuff about free stuff and how you can discharge debt, how you can get away from having to pay child support, how you can stop the bank from foreclosing on your home, how you can stop them from repossessing your car, how you can get stuff for free, it's going to appeal to some people, especially when you attach claims that the government owes people stuff. I mean, for people that were truly enslaved by this government, they would think, or they would feel, that, yeah, in my heart, the government does owe me something. They enslaved my people for 400 years. I'm owed something. That's what's appealing to you right now. That and the fact that you got shit going on in your personal life. The people that are coming on saying, oh, I'm here for freedom, get the fuck out of here. You're not fooling anybody with that bullshit. There are only maybe 2 or 3% of the people who are in this movement who are truly there for freedom, truly there because they feel like the government is on their back and they need to get the monkey off their back. Everybody else is just parroting talking points. So that way they can try and make it seem as though they come into this humbly. But they're not humble. There's nothing humble about trying to get a free car or free house from the government. I'm seeing people talking about custom Corvettes. I'm seeing people talking about going on vacations and doing all kinds of stuff. These people don't give a fuck about freedom. They want something for nothing, and they figure that a single IRS form is going to get it for them. So please, before you start taking these things seriously, ask for proof. And when you get proof in the form of something that you cannot substantiate, when you get proof in the form of a meme, when they want to send you all their literature that they've collected from all these various unfounded, unproven sources, don't take that stuff seriously. Because if there was somebody out there who managed to get a car, they'd be able to show you exactly how they did it. And they'd be able to show you the paperwork that proves that they used a 1099-A to acquire that car. I used to sell cars for Toyota, so I understand very well what a buyer's order is, and I understand how the contracts look. If you've got a contract at home that says that you've been able to use a 1099-A to acquire a car, then post the fucking contract. Take all your personal information, blur it out, scratch it out, and then post the fucking contract. Or better yet, give us the name of the dealership, allow us to call them, and find out from the dealership ourselves whether or not this is something that they accept. But please, people, your level, what you accept as proof, you have to set the bar a lot higher. Stop taking people on the internet's word for it. Stop believing people on the internet that are making claims that they cannot back up. And another thing, for you people that are sitting in those groups and watch these arguments go down, and then immediately say to yourself, oh man, this guy's a clown, this guy's a troll, he's not here to help, he's here to stop us from being able to do this. Get out of your feelings, get out of your emotions. Spend a little bit more time paying attention to what it is that you're reading. Read the arguments. See where each person is coming from, and then connect the goddamn dots. If a guy comes in and he says that the 1099-A process isn't real, and then he gives you court cases that back it up, he gives you IRS and FBI and Treasury and DOJ information that says it doesn't exist and that's not true, then what part of that do you feel is trumped by a guy who comes on with a meme? Or a guy who comes on with a loose leaf page from out of a book you don't even know where the fucking book came from? None of what they show you can come from the government. Everything they show you comes from outside the government somewhere. You don't think it's odd that these same people are telling you that you can use government forms to access a government trust, but yet there is no information from the said government that says anywhere that any of this is true? Think about it. And if what I'm saying bothers you, if what I'm saying tickles you, if what I'm saying makes you say, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, you should probably check yourself into some sort of mental institution. Because for the normal average person out there on the street that you'll pass by every single day, who you probably call a sheep, that person will listen to what I'm saying and be able to rationalize that, hey, there are things in life that are too good to be true. And the only thing that speaks for itself are the results. What are the results? Well, the results are one group, 10,000 people. In fact, let me not even say one group, because there are multiple groups. It's not just Christopher Hauser's group. You have the W4 groups. You got all these other Patriot groups. You got the Learn to Be Free group. You got all these groups. In total, there are probably close to 100,000 people spread out between all the different groups on Telegram. And you want to know what's funny? Not one confirmation of success. Several groups, 100,000 members, no success to be found anywhere. That doesn't sound strange to you? So you really actually believe that everybody that has managed to make this work, everybody that managed to make this work, has now stopped attending these groups? They've got the magic silver bullet now. Now they don't go to these groups anymore. Come on, folks. Come on, folks. There's more convenience in these excuses than a 25-8 7-Eleven. Stop believing in bullshit. Take the time out to listen to what people are saying when they're arguing in opposition of what it is that these people believe. Go and do your own fucking research. Get online, get on Google, check out the court cases, Google some shit. But don't just take these people's word for it. Because if they can't prove what they're saying, and you end up getting fucked up down the road, none of these idiots will be there to help you. And if they're in these Telegram groups arguing about whether or not the 1099A process, not even whether or not it's real, but they argue mostly about how to accomplish it. How do we go about making it happen? They still have not buttoned that down. Because you have people in there trying different processes. You got people in there, there's no set in stone method. There's nothing that you can point to that says, this is how you do it step by step by step in order to get where you're trying to go. Nothing. And then they come with excuses. Oh, well, it's not going to work for everybody. Oh, well, it's not going to work every time you do it. Oh, well, it used to work and then now it doesn't, you got to do this. Oh, well, people aren't doing all the different steps. There are more steps to it, and not everybody has all the information. There are so many excuses, and yet the one thing that we need, the results, the proof, it doesn't exist. You'll get every excuse in the book, but what you will not get is proof of their claims. And that, ladies and gentlemen, means more than anything else. Because when you decide that these companies that you're dealing with decide that they're not going to fuck with you and they're not going to take the documents that you're sending them and all that, then guess what? The only place you have left to go is court. And if you're going to walk into court talking about how the government owes you this and how you got a birth certificate and a trust thing and how you're a free man and how there's a straw man and all this other shit, you're going to get laughed out of court and your case is going to be dismissed with prejudice. That's it for today. Take care.